After we would end the cleanse and literally could eat whatever we wanted, Tank was like, yo, like make more granola. It was so good.
Hi everyone, welcome to SnackBreak. I'm Chloe Kaufman. I'm the marketing associate here at SnackMagic, and I'm joined by Greg Travers, who's our content producer. And today we're going to be talking to Erica and Tank Williams. Erica is an ex-techie turned food entrepreneur who founded the brand Gr8nola and is joined by her very supportive husband and former NFL player, Tank. And Gr8nola is a delicious, low-sugar granola made with unique and functional superfoods and is currently available on the SnackMagic menu. You can add it to your snack stash. And thank you for joining today, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Lovely. So I think to get started, it would be really good just to start at the beginning, of the Gr8nola story.
Let's see. I was making Gr8nola maybe starting 2011, 2012. It was actually born from a cleanse that Tank and I do every single year the day after Super Bowl. So this has been part of our annual tradition for 10 plus years now. But basically Monday after Super Bowl, we clean up our diets for 4 weeks where we eliminate a lot of bad things. So things like dairy, inflammatory oils, fried foods, GMOs. We try to eat organic, non-processed as much as possible. And, back during 2009, 2010, when we started this diet, it was really hard to find snacks that could satisfy mine and his taste buds and appetite without just resorting to fruit. So I was watching Food Network. We're huge foodies. And I saw a celebrity chef, Alton Brown, make granola on TV. And mid-hunger, I was like, I'm going to make that cleanse friendly. Let me just, replace the brown sugar and use honey or organic coconut sugar. Let me, instead of using canola oil, let's use organic virgin coconut oil. And it ended up being so good that even when this diet was over and we could eat whatever we wanted, Tank literally would be like,
yeah, because trust me, I've never had granola before. I'm a cereal guy and the junk food cereal. So when she was talking about, I want to make this granola, I'm like, yeah, you can eat that for yourself. But ended up being pretty good.
Yeah. So after we would end the cleanse and literally could eat whatever we wanted, Tank was like, yo, make more granola. It was so good. And so after that, it became a household staple. And it wasn't until, 2013, maybe a year or two after we started doing this diet, after I already started making the granola, that I decided to launch it as a side project. So I was working full-time in tech, launched it at the farmer's market. It was my little passion project. And then slowly got it into a lot of tech offices.
But no, you can't skip the good parts. Now, the funny thing, she was at the farmer's market. And it was so cute. Even her grandmother would come out to the farmer's market, act like she was a total stranger, taste some of the granola and be like, oh, this is pretty good. I'll buy 5 bags.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
My grandma was a secret shopper.
Yeah.
So,
marketing tip.
Yeah. So basically started as a farmer's market business as a side hustle to a full-time tech career. And then I ended up getting into all the big tech offices like Google, Twitter, Facebook. And then I took the leap about 5 years after I started the business. I've been full-time for 3 years. Tank's been, through it all, from being that first customer to
quality control.
He's my first taste tester and just gives me a lot of feedback on just business strategy and if I'm making the right decisions. So
really great stuff. I think so when you were starting the business, or when you were watching the Food Network and then going to all the markets, was it Gr8nola back then, or was it just your granola? When did it really become a commercialized business?
Sure. So I actually did launch with the name Gr8nola from the start, and that wasn't super, super obvious from the beginning. So a little bit about, I guess, the significance of the name. So you'll notice that there's the number 8 in Gr8nola, and there's a fun play on words, right, where Gr8 can be pronounced as the word great. Initially, I wanted to just name my business Gr8nola with the Gr8, and it's pretty boring, but the 8 is significant for my heritage. I'm Chinese, and so the number 8 is a very auspicious number, and that's what was significant to me. But I actually ended up running into trademark issues, and luckily I had a smart friend who was like, wait, why don't you just call it Gr8nola instead of Great Granola? But I was able to kind of figure that out before I really went to market. So it was Gr8nola from the get-go. However, I will say that a broader vision for the brand is to be beyond more than granola. And when I started really scrappily, I wasn't thinking about that. So Gr8nola is somewhat of a specific category name. So, I'm thinking about platforming the Great brand if I get into other snacks or products. But I did have that formal name from the get-go.
Where would you, want to expand the Great brand to?
Sure.
and is that in 2021 plans, or is that almost in like a 5-year plan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be this year. I think I really need to focus on my category first. I definitely think about just snacking and just what are the occasions in my day, especially, pre-COVID when we were really busy on the go all the time, where you're just like, I want something that can sustain me, but is also just delicious, right? Because it wasn't like, I wanted initially with the granola, I wanted something that met certain dietary guidelines. But the reason why it stuck around and why I turned it into a business was because, hey, this was like our snack or our little thing of choice when we could choose all the junk food we wanted. We wanted this with a bowl of milk, and that was like our healthy dessert or like our midday snack or a really good cereal alternative. So I just think more within the parameters of what is like super convenient to eat on the go, that's delicious, has good sustenance, and I'd say portable and convenient. I think granola is one of those, you eat it as a breakfast. It's less like stick it in your hand and eat it straight. I could see something being a little bit more convenient.
That's great. And I think kind of piggybacking off of that, where the brand can go with like the great brand and also owning your like category, what was the process like to develop, the current Gr8nola product?
Sure. Let's see. What do you recall when I started coming up with my flavors?
Well, I think the genesis of it was just trying to create something that was really good for us. But then, just like any other idea, it kind of morphs as you kind of grow with yourself and then your business. And so that's why you can see with a lot of her new flavors now, whether it's like the cocoa cacao or it's like the one with the charcoal and chia seeds. And then you also have turmeric. So she's, transitions to more superfood flavors that are like good for you, but at the same time you don't sacrifice taste. And so I think that's been like one of the more pivotal moments, like as she grew the brand just from like the original Gr8nola, really finding her niche and a way to separate herself while not sacrificing the flavor, because that's what draws everyone in.
Yeah, but I think when I was making the granola just for us, it wasn't to be a commercialized product. It was just, I guess that's what you could say is the original today, which is a standard granola. It's honey sweetened, it's got whole almonds, cinnamon, flaxseed, super good, super classic. But then
at the same time, it's made with like the real
right,
healthy ingredients, where most of the other ones had like the bad oils and all the refined sugars and stuff that, you really don't have in yours. And that was the initial separator, then you just kind of expanded upon that.
Yep. And then for future innovation, I really wanted to think about, how do you infuse or modernize the category, which is pretty stodgy, I would say, and use like really functional, nutrient dense superfoods, things that we have in our daily lives, but maybe it's not as approachable. So things like matcha, things like turmeric. I drink these things. I might eat these in savory foods, but no one's really thought to put it in a granola, but it still tastes super good, right? Where number one, it first leads on taste.
When and this is something I was wondering, because I actually have been thinking about starting a business at some point.
Right.
What's some advice you can offer to somebody starting a business in 2021?
Oh gosh. I think that your biggest resource is going to be the network that you create and surround yourself with. So when I started the business, I was a first-time entrepreneur, period. And then I had no experience working in the food industry. I literally had not one single contact in food. And so when I had to figure out basic things like, what are the rules for selling in a farmer's market? Where do I buy packaging? How do I find a commercial kitchen? Like, sometimes you can't turn to searching on Google for these answers. And now with social media, it's so easy to connect with people, like just connecting with people like strangers on LinkedIn and just tapping their shoulder and just saying, hey, like, I'd love to pick your brain. I really admire your brand. Would love if I could just get 15, 20 minutes of your time to just kind of walk you through what I'm thinking about and get any feedback or advice. I think that's huge. It's just building a network and like being resourceful with like the power of people.
Yeah. Obviously, people always say you should lean into something that you're passionate about, because, if you're going to become really good at something, you need to invest a lot of time in that. And so with me, myself, just being a serial entrepreneur, whether it's like real estate or stock investing, or, I'm also a sports analyst, and whether it's fantasy football, NFL football, it has to be something that you're passionate about, where you're willing to, dive in deep and spend hours upon hours upon hours of time to really get good at your craft. And so when you find something that you don't mind waking up at 3, 4 in the morning to like look at and spend late nights, focusing on it, then that's when, you really found your passion, you found your niche, and then, you just dive headfirst into that and see where you come out.
Yeah, you got to bring that fire to it, So on that note, SnackMagic experienced like a really, we went from selling office lunches as Stadium, and then we started doing snack box deliveries, so we became SnackMagic. Did you guys have any sort of pivots that you encountered last year?
Yeah, I think it was very similar to you guys, because your bread and butter was this corporate office space, and that was my bread and butter too. It was 80% of my business in 2019 was supplying these wholesale corporate accounts, like the Googles, the Twitters, the Facebooks of the world. And suddenly it just shut down like cold turkey, 100 to 0 in like a day. So fortunately, I already had my website and like just the whole direct to consumer infrastructure set up. And I started to lean more into that. And luckily, a lot of these office employees that used to eat granola at their place of work every day, they're they're loyal, right? They've been eating, I'm part of their everyday ritual. So, when it's no longer there for free, I had people who would reach out and say, one of the things that I really like miss from pre-COVID was like biking to work, coming to work and making my bowl of yogurt and granola. And I don't have that simple pleasure in life. So now I'm going to buy it from you. And so they found me online, which has been awesome. And then of course, pivoting to other platforms like SnackMagic, where essentially you have this direct to consumer model. Any opportunities that I can find, those kind of opportunities have been great. And then I'm leaning a little bit more into retail. So just traditional grocery stores, but mostly in my kind of West Coast territory. So my home base is in Northern California. I'm in maybe 100 plus natural grocery stores in California.
Yeah, and I think one important thing to note is that, pressure creates diamonds. Like a lot of times whether you're thinking about how COVID impacted her business, or when I was working in commercial real estate, I saw like how the downturn, the Great Recession impacted a lot of businesses, and, people were forced to, shut down. But, a lot of the problem solvers, people who are smart, crafty, they find ways to adjust to the problems that are occurring and turn that into a positive. And I think that's what was really important about how she was able to pivot during COVID, because like she said, the vast majority of her business was providing granola to these huge tech companies. And so I feel like someone that wasn't as scrappy as Erica is, like, they would have folded, because, that's a huge part of your business that's just going down the drain like that. And then you have those people, not at the same time, they're sending their employees away to work at home. And then they're telling you that the product that they sent to you, oh, you need to take that back.
Yeah, I had
and
huge
so it's not
returns.
so you taking product back, have to find places for that. And you have to find places for the product that you already produced that was supposed to go somewhere, not going to those places anymore. So, that's just a testament to her and how hard she was able to work and grind to find like these new avenues for her granola, where, in some instances, that's when a lot of people have to end up folding and trying to find something else to do.
Well, thank you.
Oh, that was so sweet.
I don't get to reflect as much. It's nice to hear it from
Yeah, because when you're in that time, you don't have time to reflect. You just need to get this from point A to point B, and then that's the thing with her. She's always heads down, so she's like continually like she has to scrap. So I think an important thing, and I feel like my most important aspect to her business is, I like to go on walks and she tags along. And so during those walks, it's like a time for her to kind of bounce off what's going on with the business. And so a lot of times she can get kind of drilled down into the minutia. And then that allows me to try to help her kind of expand and look at things from a macro level and see a lot of the progress that she's made, maybe some other things that she needs to focus on. I think that's been really helpful to her, as far as like trying to find, where she can kind of grow in the business at the same time, realizing the successes that she's had, because everyone goes through peaks and valleys in business and in life. So it's important to really be able to pay attention to both of those and use those experiences to continue to trend upward.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's also very important to have somebody, to listen to all these ideas, right? Like you need some support when you're starting a business. Do you feel like you, in the sense of like creating community, do you feel like you have like a network of women that you work with or talk to about like building your business?
Yeah, I would say there's like different levels. There's a couple that are literally like a text away. Like we always have calls, when we go on walks, and we're always connecting and we're throwing each other business and opportunities. We're sharing vendor resources proactively. And then there's some that are more like a little bit on the outside layer where it's like maybe we catch up every quarter, or maybe like we just reach out when we have like a very specific question or need. And then there's like another layer where it's like, hey, I'm part of this female founder Zoom happy hour chat that just kind of came into inception during COVID. And now we have these like monthly calls that, you know, I'm not required, or I don't have to go every single time, but I show up every so often. And then you build out that kind of expanded network. But I would say that, first of all, natural foods and beverage, this industry as a whole, is very, very communal, very friendly. And then especially like within, you know, the female entrepreneur space, I would say a lot of the entrepreneurs that I know in the space are women. Everyone is just so supportive. So I've, you know, at the same time, I really actively network, like often. Like I go out of my way just to initiate, hey, let's just do a founder chat. No agenda. Just love to hear how you started, what I can help you with, vice versa. And then you just build your network that way.
Just cold emails.
Oh yeah. Cold email. Yeah. So, I mean, there's some that I'm like, I will reach out because I'm like, I admire your brand. I'd love to get some time. And then sometimes it's like, oh, hey, we did an Instagram collaboration and, you know, it was so awesome collaborating. But then I'm like, hey, let's actually get on a call. Like, I want to hear, you know, I want to meet you like formally. Right. And who knows, maybe we can help each other out in the future. Either way, like you have a new contact.
Yeah, completely. And on the note of like constantly networking, how has networking adapted for you, or how have you changed as a networker from, you know, the days of being at the farmer's market to now?
Sure.
Like, is it much easier now because you have like a, you know, tailwind of like Gr8nola behind you, or has it always been like maybe a natural skill?
You know, no, it wasn't a natural skill. So when I worked in like my tech job, I was in marketing, right? And of course your boss, your department's always like, oh, you know, you should go to these marketing networking things. And I freaking hated them. But you know, it could be that I don't like happy hour type networking, trade show type networking. I prefer more one-on-one. And I recognize that. I don't like the whole like, hey, like, let's have small chat with like 20 people in 1 hour. But I was not a networker and I never felt inclined to network. But I think the difference is motivation. So first, number one, Gr8nola, I'm incredibly passionate about. Not to say I was never passionate about my old jobs, but not to the level of this. And when I first started, the networking came more out of this dire need to survive and get information and just get help. What has evolved is now networking, as I've kept, you know, consistent effort over many years, and I've seen the rewards of networking. I've realized there's a lot more that comes from it that can be proactive, which is, hey, the more you network, the more people like keep your name in your head. They might think of you for opportunities. Networking actually leads to new business, new opportunities inadvertently. So to me, I feel like the more I can like get to know people keep my name in their mind. They might think of me in the future. So it's, you know, I think it's still every day you're always trying to learn and network to just get an answer because you're stuck. But then I realized so much how it creates this like virtuous cycle of, hey, if I didn't connect to that person, I wouldn't have never been connected to this other person and I would have never gotten this deal. Right. So I see the power of it both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And most times, you know, you don't really yield the benefits, you know, until like 18 months. Right. And it's funny when like, you know, multiple connections are then attaching even years down the line. And it's like, it made sense that like the first 2 years maybe were slow for you or for another business, but like why 3 through 5 is like, you know, you're killing it because all the network is like all the fruits of your labor are there. Kind of going off like building a very solid network. I want to speak to us a little bit about like your big breaks in the Gr8nola story.
Sure. Why don't you tell the first big break?
Well, the first big break was nabbing Google. I mean, it was pretty crazy that, you know, she started the business and was at the farmer's market for maybe a month or two or something. At least it seemed like a month or two. And then she had a friend that tried a granola, saw that she started a granola business. She was like, hey, like we have like these snack events at Google where, you know, they allow people to come out and then Googlers would taste your product. And if you get voted in, then, you know, you'll get to supply Google. And so like, she's a small company, hasn't been producing granola that long. Like
I was literally baking it in my home kitchen after work.
So we lug all this granola to Google and she's up there, greeting all the Googlers, and I'm like in the back of her, like filling all these little cups
It was
of
like
thousands of cups,
people.
like literally thousands of cups of granola, like nonstop. Like I couldn't even come up for air. But then what was crazy, I think was that the weekend? Yeah, that was the day before we went to Vegas, I think, to get engaged or something.
Yeah, to get engaged.
Yeah,
so
she
story.
and like hard labor.
Oh yeah, I was such
filling this granola, and she was one of those that day. But then, she ended up getting the contract, and we ended up getting engaged, and so it was all good.
Yeah, but that, I would say the first big break came very quickly and serendipitously. So like Tank said, maybe a month or two into the business, figuring out how to just sell at the farmer's market, doing it by hand out of one oven after work. The connection into Google was very random. It wouldn't have happened if I didn't first share with my Facebook network, hey, I launched this business called Gr8nola, selling handmade granola at the farmer's market. Like if I didn't do that, she wouldn't have she wasn't even a friend I've talked to in a long time. Like I hadn't talked to her in years, but she saw on Facebook my post, and she proactively reached out to me and was like, hey, I work for Google. I know the people who like run the snacks here. Let me connect you with them. And it was good timing because they were coming right on this new like buying cycle, which was in the form of this like competition or this fair. And I showed up for the occasion. I had to hand bake enough product for that event because I didn't have manufacturing at that point. And I got voted in. So that was a huge, big break. But
yeah, like Puffy say, like more money, more problems, like more business, more problems. Like, because if you're providing granola for Google, you can't bake that out of your home kitchen.
Yeah.
So she had to find a place to bake it and try to find like packaging and all that stuff. And so it's like, oh, I got this one big deal where I have to provide this granola to Google, but then you have to figure out all these other problems in the same amount of time that you have to make sure you can deliver on this order too. So it was fun watching her scramble, but that just goes back to like how I said she had to scramble figuring out how to move her granola during COVID. I mean, this was like the first scramble, like, oh, I got this Google contract, but now I have to figure out A, B, C, and D, and she got it done, just like she gets everything else done.
Yeah.
I think a big, like the connection, especially with COVID, right, is you get these as an entrepreneur, just in life, you get these do or die, sink or swim situations. And they're really good for you because sometimes if you don't get them, you keep doing the same thing. You just do things that are very incremental. But in this case, when I got this Google opportunity, it was do or die. When I got the business, that was like the scary part actually when I got the deal, because it was like, oh yeah, here's your first order. It's 1,500 pounds. I don't know anything about bulk, a pallet. I don't know anything. I don't know where I'm going to manufacture. I still had a full-time job, but the opportunity was do or die enough where I figured it out. And thankfully, because then I outsourced manufacturing very early, which is something that can be tough for a lot of starting food entrepreneurs when you get stuck in the kitchen and in the manufacturing. Similarly, COVID was another do or die situation. However, on the other side wasn't this shiny deal. On the other side was like, hey, your business might fail. Like you got to take back $50,000 worth of product. Where is it going to go? You don't have any home for this. And you get pushed to a limit, you get tested. And I think, you figure it out, you sink or you swim. And so being that I was a former swimmer, I'd like to say that I prefer to swim.
I love that. It's so crazy that you had to take back like 50,000. Was it dollars or pounds worth of granola?
50,000 pounds. Or sorry, $50,000.
Dollars worth of granola.
Yeah.
And that was just because like to keep up with, supplying all of your clients, and they just cut it off and you're like, oh, we already have it made. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah. And it was because I went through a single distributor. Mm-hmm. And so the distributor looks at it like, well, our job is just to bring it from point A to point B. Yeah. Like all of our clients are closed. So, hey, take this back or let us donate it. And it was also like very specific bulk product. And I'm like, I can't even sell this at a grocery store because it's like bulk product. So
it's not packaged, right? It was just,
it wasn't the right packaging. So I had to figure it out. And when there's a will, there's a way. Or if the carrot's big enough or if the stick is big enough, like you will find a way.
Yeah, absolutely. So then what happened next?
Get rid of the product without losing money while also building my brand, because I was able to sell it still to, an end consumer that was able to kind of interact and see the brand packaging. So it just took just trying to figure out new sales channels, build the network, figure out where can I sell this? Like, what are the options besides grocery? Or if I can't sell this all on granola.com, like who else is selling this stuff?
And then when did you connect with SnackMagic?
I'm trying to think. My friend from Pop and Bottle was the one that connected me to Stephanie. And I think it was right maybe before COVID hit. And we were connecting when it was more stadium and it was more focused on corporate. And then we kind of, I think, you guys were figuring it out, which you guys did very, very quickly. And it was great timing because I had excess inventory. And so I was able to test things out early on with this excess inventory. And I think what's been awesome is I feel like I'm maybe one of the earlier brands during this pivot. And so I've been able to see how you guys have iterated and especially how you guys have grown. I just look at like the velocity on SnackMagic for Gr8nola and it's amazing. Like I tell that's where it's like all my little friends that I've made, I'm like, hey, are you on SnackMagic? Like, let me introduce you because it's been tremendous volume and yeah, you guys are killing it.
Glad you guys are having like such a great experience on the platform, and of the platform, what do you want, like, someone who just got like a SnackMagic invitation, like when they're like looking through like granolas, why do you think that someone should pick Gr8nola?
Well, I think first of all, because I have some really unique differentiated flavors that you would never be able to find from any other ordinary granola. So there's my original, which is obviously my staple, the classic, but you guys also have my black cocoa chia, which is not just my favorite. It's his favorite. It's my mom's favorite. She's like, it might sound kind of different or racy because it's literally black granola. So it's infused with activated charcoal, but charcoal has no taste. It just gives it the color and then also has some digestive and detox benefits, but it just tastes so good. It's like a clean Oreo. And then I have my golden turmeric flavor, which is sweet, savory. This one is also like a very surprising flavor because some people are like, oh, turmeric and granola, what is it going to taste like? But it's super, super good. So, I mean, I think first and foremost, it's just going to be these really unique, delicious flavors. And then obviously woman founded, BIPOC founded, small business. And at the end of the day, you can love all those things, but if you don't love the product, it's not going to mean anything, but I promise you're going to love it.
And I give y'all a little snack tip too. Like I know people love eating granola plain or with regular milk, almond milk, stuff like that. But I'm gonna tell you, you take that black cocoa chia, put over some chia seed pudding, chop up some mangoes, put them over that, some coconut flakes, and then you drizzle honey on top. Scrum diddly umptious.
I will absolutely have to do that as soon as I get my hands on a bag.
Like, can you write this down, please?
Yeah, we're gonna have to make like a sponsored now like snack and call it the tank.
Tank, that's right.
Yeah.
But actually, I think on the platform it might be called charcoal chia because I've been like kind of transitioning between packaging and names. But it's the only black granola like in the world. So
Cool.
Hard to miss.
I remember seeing it in the warehouse when I was packing the boxes, and I was like, what is this?
You got to try it. It's so good. Like when I used to do demos in grocery stores and do sampling, like this is the one that people be like, I just try this. This is like one of my top sellers. I'm like, oh, okay, it's one of your top sellers. I'll try it. And they like kind of don't realize that it's black. Some people are like, oh my God, it's black. It's so beautiful. Like, I'm so interested, right? Like some people are like, no, thank you. But when you try it, it's like, I don't want to say everyone, it's so extreme, but it's a fan favorite. It's like it's the top one that I will always sell at these demos when people taste it.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. I'm wondering now that you just brought up supermarkets and like, it sounds like Gr8nola, definitely has like grassroots, humble beginning, but for someone who's coming from like, a tech marketing background, how was that transition? Were you unhappy and unfulfilled in your job and you wanted a way out and granola was it? Or was it like, I love my job, but this granola thing happened and I can only pick one?
Kind of the latter. Yeah. So I, as a person, I'm not the type of person that likes to cruise. Like I like to be really passionate into what I'm doing. And I think almost every job I've been able to see the benefit or find fulfillment in what I was learning or the team I was working with or just what, the impact that I was able to have. So I knew early on in my career, I like to be a part of a startup. I like having a stamp on things and having impact. And I could tell myself all day long why this job I have is so valuable for me and my growth as like a young professional. I would say it was about 4 or 5 years into my tech career when I started to get the itch to start a business. And I didn't know what. I never, it wasn't like I had this vision of being a food entrepreneur. I actually never really ate granola until I started just randomly making it from the cleanse. But it first came with this very innate itch of wanting to build something of value that I could put my stamp on and feel really proud of, because I started to see all these, other classmates of mine start their own businesses. I was working in the tech industry. You're seeing people do startups all the time. And I just started to think, hey, if they can do it, why not me? Maybe at a lesser scale. I'm not trying to build some like tech unicorn. Just want to like prove that I can do it, especially being a woman. Mm-hmm. And the granola again was something that I was already making at home. It took a while to like triangulate it all and realize that maybe my idea could just be selling something as humble as granola. And then once I had that epiphany, I ran with it, and I took my sweet time figuring it out. Okay. 4.5 years of side hustling. And then, I would say that passion as my passion. And as I started to feel like, oh, I know how to grow the Gr8nola business, then slowly that passion for what I was doing in like my tech career started to fade. And then it became very evident when it was time to make the leap.
Mm-hmm. And what are some things looking forward for Gr8nola other than your, you said the merchandising with Gr8? Do you have any other plans for this year?
Yeah, I think retail and getting into kind of the traditional grocery space is something that is a big mountain to climb, but it's an inevitable one, since even with COVID and the rise of online shopping, people are still going to the store. And as things come back to kind of what the new normal is, that's where a lot of people still do a bit of their discovery when it comes to just like like granola and cereals and whatnot. So I've barely scratched the surface when it comes to the retail side of things. And down the road, while I'm a little bit more niche, better for you, premium, the goal is to be a mass approachable household kind of brand, right? That is affordable for everyone, but still, has super clean ingredients and quality ingredients. Mm-hmm. So that's a marathon, not a sprint. And then, down the road, like innovation, coming up with these new flavors, just being my own boss, it can come from random inspiration. So I might have another epiphany moment like I did with the granola in general, or about a new flavor. And guess what? I could just tinker in the kitchen, try to come up with it, and then figure out the launch plan from there. So it's always exciting to launch new flavors. Actually, the newest one that I launched this year is peanut butter, and it's infused with ashwagandha, which helps with stress relief. But this one was actually made in partnership with a nonprofit called Girl Up, which fights for gender global equality. Fights for gender equality. Mm-hmm. And I actually worked intimately over 6 months with 5 girls from their community who like helped me come up with the flavor from start to finish. So that's one I got to get on SnackMagic soon, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I can't try that one. I was thinking, like, have you ever thought about starting like a brick and mortar store?
I feel like, I get like these random visions of, oh, it would be so fun. Just like with Tank, we're like, oh man, what if we had like a barbecue joint, like a fusion Asian, like Southern restaurant. Like, it's just like kind of fun to like dream about those things. Like I've had like visions and dreams of like, man, how cool would it be if there was like a Gr8nola bar or something? You come in, you could like your base, like chia pudding, yogurt, or milk, and you've got all these like colorful granolas, because my granolas are actually kind of colorful, and like you make these amazing bowls, because like when you have the right ingredients, you can make the most amazing bowls where Gr8nola is a topping and call it a day. And that's your dessert, that's your dinner, that's your lunch.
Right. It's very on brand with like frozen yogurt and poke bowls and like all that stuff, like a line.
But it's like a dream. It's like parked on the side as, that would be fun, but I don't know if that's imminent,
Right.
What's super cool about SnackMagic is even Tank, his only connection in a CPG is me, but you'll have random friends who are like, hey, I got Gr8nola, and their friend will send them a picture of their SnackMagic box.
That's amazing.
So if any like they might not be in tech or anything, right? But it's like, if anyone is like, oh, I got this in my office, bought these boxes, it's like 99 out of 100 times is going to be SnackMagic, because no one else is doing it like you guys.
Wow, sounds like a powerful channel for you guys, and that's just like, well, we have to let the whole team know that. Well, yeah, thanks so much for your time today, Erica and Tank. It was really great to hear about the Gr8nola story.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was really nice to talk to you guys. Your story is really inspiring, Erica.
Thank you.
I'm happy to see where it goes.